Welcome back to the show, everybody. We got a great one lined up. Let's not waste any time. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on X, YouTube, and DigPerspectives.com for exclusive content. Right now, look at this. I've lost my voice, everybody, but I got to give a very big shout out to our youngest daughter for it is her birthday. So if everybody could wish her a happy birthday. We were out celebrating last night, and I blew my voice out trying to scream and act silly over top of all the loud music in the club, which this morning sounds like I've gargled rocks all night. So my apologies for that. But nonetheless, happy birthday to our youngest. And she's amazing. And we're super excited for her and everything that's in front of her. And just like right now, let's look at what's in front of us. It's $3.72 trillion cryptocurrency market cap, which is now back up 1%. Remember, we've been well over 4 trillion. So the market's taking a hit here. Bitcoin is 106,900 plus, Ethereum 3,800 plus, and we see number 5 spot still still XRP sitting at 237 here. Now we're up 3.5 on the 24, which is nice, but we're still off 3.3 on the 7-day. Let's look at the range of price here, ranging between 225 and 239. We will keep an eye on it, but we have a lot to dig into after the recent news of Ripple acquiring G Treasury. I think this is really, really exciting. And I want to get a little deeper into what that looks like and why that may be why that happened. And well, let's just get into it. So let's start right here. First, let's start right here. You guys know where I'm at here. This is where I'm going. Gulf of America, XRP.com, and you can go there too, and you can find yourself sitting on this beautiful white silky sandy beach with that beautiful, beautiful island Caribbean water, and never leave the U.S. and the continental states, because this is down in the panhandle of Florida, and they have the best seafood. They have the best food, period. I've had it. I was down there recently. Wonderful place to decompress, relax, make memories with your family, go fishing, sit on the beach all day. And I'm showing you little teeny one bedroom, two bath, like little condos here. And look at this, right on the ocean, overlooking that ocean. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. Most of these are in the 350 range, and you can make anywhere from 50 to 65, maybe $70,000 on these units, and they can help you do that. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about Realty Mark. Realty Mark can put you in something so cozy and beautiful like this for you and your family and help you sublet the property so you can offset any costs. So your family can go down there on the panhandle of Florida, down in Destin area, Panama City, and you can enjoy these beaches and maybe not even cost you a penny to do so once you have the property. How about that one? So don't mess around. Click the link underneath the video and click Gulf of America XRP.com and get started today. Ask for Daniel. You can call or text him, and he is ready to help you as he has been helping so many others get what they want for their families. Now, I wanted to start right here. This is Dom from Easy A. Shout out to him right here. He says, all it takes is one positive U.S. and China trade announcement to turn things around. Don't get too bearish. I just think it's bingo. I think it's so spot on and so well said. These guys, Phil and Dom, are so incredibly smart. So, look, shout out to those guys. I just think it's really something to understand that it was something like that that set this market the wrong way. And it will be an announcement that it is going to be solved, the trade deal with China, and whatever the next arrangement will be. And these markets, not just crypto, all the markets will begin to turn around just the same way that they took a downturn, right? So now let's get into this. Ripple now has direct access to the global leader in treasury management systems and its Fortune 500 clientele, adding new bullish fuel to XRP price predictions. Now, with that being said, this was the announcement. Ripple put this out just 2 days ago, and it was wow. Like when I saw it, I'm like, oh my gracious. This is buying G Treasury, acquiring this treasury management leader. And this is providing the fusion of Ripple's enterprise crypto solutions with G Treasury's 40 plus years of expertise immediately opens up the multi-trillion-dollar corporate treasury market. Now, let's get into this. Who is G Treasury and why does it matter? Great question from Ratha Kahneman here, and he goes right down the rabbit hole. Well, let's start right here. Who is G Treasury? G Treasury is a treasury and risk management system. It is a digital control center, a router for money. The software available cash in hundreds of accounts across the globe, scheduled payments, and the effects of currency fluctuations, debts, and investment. What G Treasury is known for. They have 40 years of integrating with 800 plus banks worldwide. They integrate directly with major ERP systems like SAP, Oracle, and NetSuite, and connects the leading banks like JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and PNC. Why Ripple bought G Treasury? Direct access to the corporate global money movement. With this, Ripple can bring real USD and XRP settlement options into existing treasury workflows. A company could move funds across subsidiaries, currencies, or counterparties instantly with changing software or without changing software or banks. It's the last mile for corporate finance. The build out, Medico, 250 million they bought in 23. Hidden Road, they just recently bought 1.25 billion. Rail Financial, 200 million. Now they buy G Treasury for 1 billion. Here's the moneymaker right here. He's getting ready to bring it home for everybody. So Ripple has spent 3 billion building a complete corporate finance stack. That's exactly what's happening here. They can offer every layer between a corporate CFO's dashboard on-chain settlement. That is what we're talking about here. He says, I know, but what about XRP? I will leave it to you to consider what the implications are for a company that was built around the XRP ledger becoming embedded in corporate finance while holding 40% of the XRP supply. It's important market penetration. There's no question. That is absolutely spot on by Ratha Kahneman as far as I'm concerned, which breaks us into Swift, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, and so many others. We know that JP Morgan's G Treasury and Ripple XRP Ledger full integration will now be available for JP Morgan and the corresponding banks. XRP now has Wall Street's blessing. That's what they're tapping into here. It is absolutely a corporate stack. Now, I want you to listen to this clip. This is Patrick Bet David, and he's got Anthony Pompliano on the show. And Patrick Bet David has discovered who Brad Garlinghouse is as the CEO of Ripple. And I find this quite interesting because Anthony Pompliano tries to tamp down the idea and question that Patrick Bet David is starting to come around to. So this is really cool. Listen. Oh, let me get this to play here.
Okay, I mean, that's a big deal to buy something like that at 1.25 billion. And the guy that's running it, I think his name is Brad. I can't say his last name. Yeah. He seems like a very intellectual guy. He's involved on I've seen him with the Trump administration, a couple different things with them. But he doesn't just sound like one of these guys that came and created a coin, hey, let's sell a bunch of stuff and then let's go. They're actually creating technology and buying technology. Good for them. So you're optimistic because you hear some people talk about Ripple could replace Swift. Possibility of that, of course, the likelihood of that happening.
He says, I wouldn't go that far. Anthony Pompliano does not like Ripple or XRP. I mean, this guy, woo. But nonetheless, I think Patrick Bet David's on to something here. And shout out to Brad Ripple and everybody over there. But let's take a look here because as Paul Barron showed, and we did cover this when the news broke, he says, update from my prediction, Ripple just made a $1 billion power move by acquiring G Treasury. They're not just entering the corporate treasury space. They're bringing XRP Ledger to Fortune 500 finance teams managing trillions in capital. Legacy systems are about to meet real-time 24/7 crypto payments. That's exactly right. The financial infrastructure shift is accelerating faster than anyone expected. And I think that's spot on. You're talking about 13,000 connected banks. You're talking about 100% cash visibility and $12.5 trillion volume for G Treasury. That's what you're talking about. And to go a step further here, Brad Garlinghouse himself acknowledges that Ripple's breaking into a $120 trillion corporate treasury payments market with the acquisition of the $1 billion G Treasury. So this, and look, I mean, the moment you've been waiting for, right? I mean, I think as we see these acquisitions come to the fore, you're starting to see the real plan, the real strategy, the real goal revealed, right? Which is to get these acquisitions that become this financial corporate stack of tech or whatever's necessary to really catch all the action of payments and settlement and clearing at its bottleneck for the traditional financial market. And if they can do that with these acquisitions or mergers or however, then they are going to find themselves with an enormous amount of utility and liquidity on the network in a very short period of time. Now, this is where you see things like this and go, okay, the market infrastructure bill is going to set things into motion. And so is that Ripple Bank charter and the Federal Reserve master account. And when you see them making these kind of acquisitions, is anybody at all thinking that we're not getting the Ripple Bank license and bank charter at this point, or the Fed master account? You're not making these kind of acquisitions and then not getting those things, because it's going to, that would be a crippling thing to have happen, right? So I think it just really shows the importance. I think it shows the brilliance of Brad and everybody at Ripple too, quite honestly, and how they've gone out and done these things and why they time to do these things when they do them. Right. So I think this is super great. These people are a lot smarter than I'll ever be. I can guarantee you that. So shout out to them and what they're doing. But let's keep it going here. Getting ready for a massive run into the acquisition season for Ripple in 2026. Paul Barron says they've identified over 20 acquisitions, and this will pave the way for XRP. He's highlighting here the Nate Garazzi, the ETF guy, talking about Ripple leading an effort to raise at least $1 billion to accumulate XRP. Ripple Labs is leading an effort to raise at least $1 billion to accumulate XRP, the digital token linked to the company, in a sign that the recent tumult has not stopped cryptocurrency heavyweights from pursuing their business plans full force. The funds are to be housed inside of a new digital asset treasury, or DAT. According to people familiar with the matter, the money will be raised through a special purpose acquisition company known as a SPAC, said some of the people, none of whom were authorized to speak publicly. Ripple will contribute some of its own XRP as well. So they're going to be raising money to acquire more XRP, right? And here's why Ripple is buying $1 billion in XRP instead of just using its escrow. Because isn't that the first thing that you think of? Why would they be buying XRP when they have so much in escrow, right? Yeah, it's a great question you're asking, right? So let's go into the speculation of this, right? Possible reason is not leveraging its escrowed XRP. Neatsbucks, who, by the way, attacked me for years and years and years over pre-allocation, is now acknowledging we were right about it. So shout out to Neatbucks. Neatbucks confirmed that multiple XRP community members have asked this question, but suggested there could be several reasons the blockchain payments firm could be taking the fundraising route. He then presented one factor, but confirmed that it was mere speculation. He says there's several reasons Ripple would buy new XRP with new capital for a treasury. Yet many ask, why not just move all from the escrow? Purely speculative factor, he says. Maybe the pre-allocation theory is correct, and Ripple has less XRP in the escrow than the public thinks. Yeah, that's exactly what I think. And I've thought it since before I was ever in YouTube. And I think it's one of the most brilliant strategies that could ever be employed in this digital asset space. And to that point, pre-allocation is not a guess. It is not a hypothetical speculative thought. It is a fact that they've done it at least twice. Greg Kidd had a 1% float pre-allocated option contract for XRP at one point. And then we know also R3 was in a lawsuit, but they gave them the option to buy 5 billion XRP at 0.0085, right? That's what we're talking about here. So we know that pre-allocation is absolutely something that has been exercised in the past. Now we get back to the situation of wanting to ask the question, well, are they now in a position to fundraise because the escrow that is, or the XRP that is in escrow currently today is already pre-allocated in option contracts to many of the largest nations around the world? Remember, we just saw as well that there's an effort with the largest banks in Wall Street and certainly around the world that are getting ready to work on launching currencies for the G7. Think of it. Now, what if they choose to launch those and represent all of those, as I suggested last week, on the XRP ledger? You know, this is where the phrase everything runs on the ledger comes from, right? Look, we don't know. We are still speculating, but there are some things that make it more valid that this could be what's happening, and that they're doing this to acquire the XRP back because they, first of all, they obviously recognize the importance of it, or they wouldn't be doing any of that. Right. So in its space, it has that, right? Then outside of that, you have to start asking the questions, you know, could this be a situation where we are watching the reveal eventually of this pre-allocated XRP in the escrow? We don't know. We may never get to know. But I think this is very exciting for me because this is where I have been since before I was ever in this space, just as someone that was looking at what's going on and what Ripple were doing back in 2017. And this starts to feel more real today than I believed it was when I first found it in 2017. So I'm going to leave it right there. But before we go, in October last year, says unknown DLT, the price of XRP did exactly what it's doing now. A big shakeout followed by a sudden rise of plus 800%. Now, if we get that again today, and I'm just going to run it here. So if we get that again today, I'll go here with this and we'll leave it here. It would be, let's see here. We'd be looking at a double digit, obviously XRP, but anywhere between $18 to $20, depending on the price fluctuation of the market today. That is a hell of a jump from where we are, but it's not unlike XRP to have these kind of explosions. So this is something to watch out for. And remember, you know, government at some point is going to come back and get to work, and they're going to turn the lights back on. And at that point, how quickly will we get the market infrastructure bill, the Ripple Bank charter, the ETF approvals, and the Fed master account, which could help push us into another repeat scenario of 800 plus rise for XRP price? Again, not financial advice from me or anyone else. This is getting super exciting to watch, and I'm glad we get to do it together. I will catch all of you on the next one.